The skyline told lies. To the world, it screamed success. Steel, glass, and power stacked high in a city built on ambition. But behind the reflective window of that tower, Selah Brooks pressed her fingers against the cold glass, unmoved. She should have been celebrating. Another acquisition closed, another investor pitch reduced to applause. Her name, etched in silver on the boardroom door, meant power in every room she entered. But that morning, she had unfolded a set of old, charcoal-stained blueprints, and the world around her had shifted. No quarterly report made her heart lurch like this. The sketches were raw, messy, almost forgotten. A workbench, open shelves, wide, paint-splattered floors, notes in the margins, community hours, kids' cabinet, fix-it bench. At the bottom, in her grandfather's hand, one name repeated itself. Brooks and Reed Workshop. She remembered the mural, the smell of turpentine and sawdust. Her hand, small and determined, painting alongside her grandfather's, layering color onto bricks that had once cradled entire neighborhoods. They had called it the people's hands. But the years had stolen that version of her, Selah the fixer. Selah the artist, not Selah the CEO. Down 3 neighborhoods and 5 economic brackets, Noah Reed removed his gloves with slow precision. He worked the night shift, quiet halls, unseen hours, the kind of job people walked past without noticing. But he noticed everything, a loose tile near the stairwell. He reset it, a classroom chair with a cracked leg, repaired and placed back before morning. That was not in his job description, but order meant something to him. Care meant something to him. Tonight, he paused outside a boarded-up building. The mural was almost gone now, peeled by sun and weather. But he saw it. Not the cracks or faded paint. He saw what it used to mean. Hands of every size and shade lifting each other up. One corner bore initials half erased, SB plus GR. He stood there, just breathing. The locks groaned when Selah turned. The key, no press release, no entourage. No one even knew she had returned to the old Brooks and Reed workshop, not even her assistant. Dust kicked up with every step. The floor creaked in a language she still understood. She was halfway to the mural when she saw him. A man. Still, focused, cleaning a crooked frame on the far wall, as if the building still mattered. He did not hear her enter. Or maybe he had, and chose not to speak. She watched him for a moment. His hands moved like he was restoring something sacred. Then he turned, slowly. His gaze went straight to the mural, not to her. "You paint this?" he asked, voice low but even. She nodded. Noah took one step back, giving her the mural as if it belonged to her more than the building did. He did not smile. Neither did she. But something held in the silence. For a moment, neither moved. The air was thick with the kind of tension that did not feel dangerous, only unfamiliar. 2 people who were not supposed to meet, standing in a room neither had claimed. And, yet somehow, both had returned to. Selah glanced around. "You work here?" "I clean across the street." "This place?" Noah looked up at the beams, the cracked windows. It was open once, for everybody. Someone should keep it standing. "You do that on your break?" he shrugged. "Feels better than standing still." She walked over to the mural. The edges had chipped. Some of the hands were barely visible now, but her brushstrokes still lived there. Not perfect, but alive. Her fingers hovered over the brick but never touched it. "You are not from around." "Here," Noah said quietly. "I was," she replied. "A long time ago." Outside, the city pulsed, but in that workshop, time slowed. There was no explanation for why Selah had come back, not one she would admit. The glass towers no longer felt like victory, and this janitor with sandpaper hands had just looked her in the eye without flinching. They were strangers, but something unspoken passed between them. A recognition, perhaps. She turned to leave, then paused. "What is your name?" she asked. "Noah, and—" That was all. Later that night, Selah sat in her car without starting it. She looked at her reflection in the rearview mirror, not the sleek executive mask, but the tired eyes behind it. She opened her phone and searched one word. Read. The last records were old, tax liens, a permit that never got approved, then a scanned copy of the original deed, Brooks and Reed Workshop, co-owned by Gregory Brooks and Elijah Reed, her grandfather, and Noah's father. The pieces did not fit neatly, but the connection was there, buried in dust and time. She closed the phone. A janitor who fixed things without being asked. A mural faded but unforgotten. A workshop waiting to be reclaimed. Darker groaned louder the second time she entered. Selah stepped back into the workshop 2 days later. This time, alone. No business suit, no heels. Just old sneakers and a rolled-up set of her grandfather's sketches tucked under her arm. The same drawing she had once dismissed as nostalgic clutter now felt urgent, almost prophetic. She walked the perimeter slowly, finger to brick, sole to creaking plank. In the far corner, cobwebs veiled a rusted toolbox with the initials GRB etched in metal. She opened it, empty, except for a folded paper and a worn-out graphite pencil. The note was unmistakably her grandfather's, block lettering. Careful margins. Convert back room into printmaking press. Leave the window open. Let the kids mess up the floors. She smiled, the first real smile in weeks. Later that afternoon, she waited outside the workshop. Noah appeared at his usual hour, wiping his hands on a rag that had seen better days. He did not look surprised to see her, just mildly curious. "I found something," she said, holding up the sketches. "My grandfather wanted to turn this place into a community studio." Noah took the paper, studied it carefully. "Looks like he was planning to teach screen printing in the back and basic tool work up front," he said. "You know how to do any of that?" "Enough to not break things." She looked him dead in the eye. "Then let's fix it." He folded the sketch, slow and deliberate. "You're corporate. This place is anything but." "I know," Selah said. "So help me keep it that way." They began the next morning. No permits, no headlines. Just two people moving dusty tables into sunlight and pulling rusted nails from the walls. The synergy between them was wordless. When she lifted, he braced. When he sanded, she swept. Their rhythm belonged to the building, not the world outside. Noah brought in a portable toolbox and a shortwave radio. Selah brought thermoses of coffee and bags of screws labeled in perfect handwriting. They worked until their shadows stretched across the paint-scarred floors. By the end of the week, they gave it a name, Hope and Hammer Days. Every Saturday, the doors stayed wide open. They began with small things, bike repairs, patching jackets, teaching kids how to change faucet washers. Word spread like wildfire. Elders showed up with broken radios. Teenagers arrived with chipped skateboards. A mother brought in her daughter's cracked lunchbox, just for the girl to feel included. Noah led each session with the same precision he brought to janitorial work, except now he had an audience. Selah stayed in the background, managing supplies, refilling coffee, ordering parts from obscure local vendors that only someone like her could find. They never announced who funded it. She never said it was her. By week 3, the space had changed, not just physically, emotionally. The air smelled like sawdust and lemon oil instead of mildew. Laughter bounced off the exposed rafters. Someone brought a potted plant. A kid named Marcus painted a handprint near the door, and others followed. The mural began to whisper again. Despite the energy around them, Selah and Noah remained undefined. They rarely talked about themselves, never asked too much. But their silences were never awkward, just full, charged. After each event, Selah lingered longer. One night, she stayed behind, gathering the last of the folding chairs. She heard something crack. In the back, she found Noah under the window frame with a crowbar. "Glass shifted," he said. "Figured I'd stabilize it." "You always fix things?" "Someone has to." She grabbed the opposite end of the frame and held it steady. Their hands met, just for a second. Neither of them moved. Later that night, the window stood whole again. Not new, but mended. "I used to think buildings held memory," Selah said softly. "But maybe it is the hands that fix them that really do." Noah looked at her. "That mural of yours, what did you call it?" "The people's hands." He nodded. "Then it belongs here again." They began cleaning it together the next day. Gently, brush by brush. The edges came back into view. Blues and golds re-emerged. Some parts were too damaged to recover, so they painted over them. Not to hide the past, but to honor it. Their shoulders brushed, their fingers smudged in the same streak of ochre. No one spoke about it. They just kept painting. Outside, whispers had started. Who were they to each other? Was it business? Was it something more? Some speculated. Most just showed up and stayed quiet, because whatever was happening inside the Brooks and Reed workshop felt real and rare. And in a neighborhood long overlooked, real meant everything. The final Saturday of the month, they hosted a repair rally. It was Selah's idea. She created a flyer that read, "Bring what you broke. Let's fix it together." The turnout surprised them both. A former plumber fixed a leaking radiator. A teenager soldered a flashlight for his younger brother. Two elderly sisters brought an old jewelry box and taught a group of girls how to replace the lining. Noah worked non-stop. Selah barely sat down. But for the first time in years, neither of them felt exhausted. That night, Selah watched him clean a paintbrush in the utility sink. His shoulders were streaked with primer, and his jaw was clenched in that thoughtful way he had when something mattered. "You are good with people," she said. Noah glanced, sideways. "I am better with broken things. People are broken things." He let that sit. "Then maybe that is why we are here," he finally said. Outside, the moon caught on the mural's fresh paint. Hands of every shade reached toward the sky. Somewhere above, the towers still blinked their indifference. But here, in this forgotten corner of the city, something was beginning again. Something held together not by title, nor by contract, but by choice. By week 5, the rhythm had evolved into something larger than either of them expected. Selah arrived one morning to find a teenager sleeping on the steps of the workshop. He had a backpack for a pillow and oil-stained fingers. "Name's Jalen," he said without looking up. "Heard y'all fix things." Noah stepped forward before she could answer. "You know tools?" "I know engines. And rust." He stayed. That. Same day, a girl with paint on her jeans dropped off a canvas. It was a portrait of the mural, rendered in bold charcoal lines and red strokes. She had no introduction, just a shrug. "It is yours. I paint protest walls." Micah Sloan, 17, quiet, fierce. She came back with brushes the next day and never stopped showing up. Kids from the neighborhood began painting the fence in sections. Not graffiti, murals of their own, flowers, fists, bicycles, portraits of neighbors. One boy asked if he could paint a spaceship. "Why a spaceship?" Selah asked. "So people know we can leave, if we want." The fence became a timeline of dreams, some broken, some still possible. Elders brought tools from their garages. A man named Mr. Holloway donated a lathe that had not spun in 20 years. Someone's aunt baked pies for every Hope and Hammer day. A girl made friendship bracelets and gave them to volunteers. The neighborhood buzzed. You could feel it in the way people lingered. Noah found a rhythm with the new recruits. He mentored Jalen without sounding like he was teaching. He let Micah paint in silence, but always made sure there was extra light where she worked. Selah stayed busy, managing logistics, calming the occasional zoning inspector, sourcing weird parts no one could name but everyone needed. They never called. It a movement. But it moved, until the email. It arrived on a Tuesday. Anonymous. Sent to half a dozen local business leaders, a few city officials, and one particularly influential member of Selah's corporate board. The subject line read, "The off. Fix-it farce, a CEO's PR stunt and her hired prop." The body of the message accused Selah of using the workshop as image rehabilitation, a vanity project meant to rebrand her after rumored boardroom failures. It implied that Noah was a convenient symbol, an exploited face attached to her name, no signature, no source, just venom. By Thursday, 2 donors quietly withdrew their support. One cited brand uncertainty. Selah's board convened an emergency meeting without her. When she found out, her assistant could barely look her in the eye. "They are concerned about optics," she said quietly. "Let them come down here," Selah snapped. "Let them walk this floor." But they would not. Noah read the email once, folded the printout, threw it in the trash. "We do not answer ghosts," he said. Selah disagreed. "This is bigger than us now. People believe what they read." He shook his head. "If we start performing, for them, we are no better than the noise. You think I am performing?" His silence hurt more than any accusation. They did not speak for 2 days, but neither of them stopped showing up. On the 3rd day, a knock echoed through the workshop. Just before dusk, a woman with a mic pack and a clipboard stepped in. Behind her, a small crew. "I am Devin Vaughn," she said. "I run the local Pulse podcast. My intern came to a fix-it day last week. She has not stopped talking about this place since." Selah crossed her arms. "We are not doing media right." "Now," Devin smiled. "That is why I am here. You are not controlling a narrative. You are living one." Noah said nothing. Devin turned to him. "You okay with real questions? No scripts, no edits." He looked at Selah. She nodded. "Fine. 1 recording. No spotlights." They set up a folding table in the middle of the room. Between toolboxes and open paint cans, under the faint hum of workshop lights, they spoke. Devin asked about the name. "Hope and Hammer?" Selah said. "Hope is for the people. Hammer is for the work." She asked how it began. Noah told her about the mural, about Selah's proposal, about the first broken window they fixed together. She asked if they were a couple. They both laughed, the first real laugh in days. "That is not what this is," Selah said. Noah added, "But it matters just the same." The episode dropped 3 days later. No ads, no sponsorships, just raw, uncut audio, laughter, silence, paint-streaked truth. Within hours, it was the most shared post in the city. People came, not just locals, strangers from across town, architects, poets, former foster kids, retired plumbers. A woman who had not left her house in months came just to stand by the mural. The fence outside bloomed with more color. The repairs doubled. A musician set up a piano in the corner and played during volunteer hours. But the light drew shadows too. An SUV parked across the street, engine idling. A man in a suit watched for hours but never approached. A drone hovered too low, too long. Someone spotted a camera in the alley, aimed through a crack in the fence. Noah found a business card on the windowsill. No name. Just the emblem of a real estate conglomerate burned into the edge. Selah began locking the gate at night. Noah stopped using his usual route home. Neither of them said the word danger. But they both began carrying that extra breath between sentences. the kind you take when you are listening for footsteps. Still, hope and hammer days continued. Noah taught Jalen how to rewire an old lamp. Micah painted a phoenix over a rusted door. Selah filed new zoning paperwork under her grandfather's name, just in case. But beneath it all, one question rang louder than the rest. Who sent the email? The man arrived in a town car with mirrored windows and shoes that had never touched workshop dust. Preston Vance. His reputation preceded him. Urban revitalizer, development pioneer, architect of the city's future. But Selah knew better. He was a businessman in a silk tie, selling shadows disguised as skylines. He requested a meeting. She did not agree, but he came anyway. Standing just outside the workshop gates, he extended a hand like they were old friends. Selah, Brooks, he smiled, the visionary daughter of a visionary era. She did not shake it. I know potential when I see it, he continued, motioning to the mural and the building behind it. This space, your story. It could be the crown jewel of my next project. He handed her a folder, clean and thick. Inside, mock-ups of luxury lofts, green rooftops, a wine bar where the mural used to be. We are calling it The Artisan. Elevated housing, sustainable, respectful to the past. Selah closed the folder without looking up. You want to buy this place? I want to build a legacy, for both of us. His tone remained pleasant, but his eyes had already moved past her, surveying the street, the fence, the people. This community deserves progress, and you deserve to cash in while it still means something. He named a number, 7 figures, up front. Selah did not flinch. No. He tilted his head, as if surprised. But she could see it, the flicker of calculation behind his calm. This place is not protected, you know, he said. No historical designation, no zoning favors. I am offering you a way out before someone else makes that decision for you. She met his gaze. You want my silence. I want your signature. He left without a handshake. By the following. Monday, she received a certified envelope, a notice from the city inspector. The property had been flagged for multiple code violations, unsafe wiring, improper occupancy, faulty drainage. They had 30 days to comply or vacate. Selah stared at the paper in her hands as Noah read over her shoulder. This was not random, he said quietly. No, she replied. It was strategic. Within days, Preston's campaign launched across the city. Billboards appeared downtown. Preston Vance, building the new era. Local news segments called him the man making neighborhoods bloom. His press kit featured phrases like economic elevation and respecting roots through innovation. Not once did he mention the workshop, but whispers began to grow. Jalen was followed on his way home by 2 men in unmarked vests. Micah found her paint supplies shredded behind the studio. Her newest mural was defaced overnight, black X's slashed through every face she had painted. One morning, the front gate hung open. The toolbox was missing. Noah found their security camera had been smashed. Selah wanted to confront it all, speak out, hold a press conference, rally support. Noah disagreed. They want you loud, he said, so they can frame you as reckless. Angry. And what do you suggest? We go quiet. We document. We build. We do not feed their fire. It was the first time she questioned his judgment. Not because he was wrong, but because she was tired of being quiet in the face of force. So Selah leaned into transparency. She called in a documentary crew, not big media, just a few college filmmakers. They started recording everything, every cracked tile they repaired, every story told by a neighbor, every donation, every moment of joy that still pulsed through the building. It was not spin, it was proof. Still, tensions brewed between her and Noah. He grew distant, cautious. Every decision became a discussion. Every conversation felt weighted. She accused him of hiding. He accused her of chasing ghosts. They were both right. When the date for their community fundraiser arrived, Selah stood by the mic alone. Noah had stayed behind, citing repairs. He did not even call. That night, she walked back to the workshop on foot. The streets were quiet. Too quiet. The mural glowed under weak street lamps, edges flickering in shadow. She paused at the gate, something off in the air. Then, glass. The sound of a window breaking inside. She ran to the side entrance. Inside, a single pane lay shattered. Nothing was stolen. Nothing burned. But on the workshop floor, near the center table, someone had left a screwdriver stabbed into the wood. A message, a warning, without words. She stood in the silence, breath caught, fists clenched. Alone, surrounded by the echo of everything they had built, and everything they were now fighting to protect. The fire line is drawn. This is where they choose who they are. The clock ran low. 30 days became 28, then 21. City inspectors returned with clipboards and cold stares. They measured windows, marked pipes, and never once made eye contact. Selah filed an appeal with the city council. Her voice was steady. Her argument sound, but the chamber was already bought. 2 council members nodded along politely. The others barely looked up from their phones. The next morning, Selah arrived early to the workshop. The front gate had not been locked properly. She found a brown envelope on the main table. No postage, no name, just weight. Inside, photos. Grainy, black and white, taken from a distance. Noah repairing the fence, Jalen helping a child with a flat bicycle tire. Selah walking home alone, her face blurred under a lamplight. There was no threat written, but none was needed. The message was clear. We see you. We are watching, and we are getting closer. That night, red paint poured down the mural like blood, thick slashes across the faces, eyes wiped out, hands smeared, entire pieces obliterated. Micah stood in front of it in silence the next morning, her knuckles white from rage. This is erasure, she whispered. Jalen did not speak. He simply picked up a bucket and started cleaning, and then it happened. Noah was gone. He had gone to pick up lumber from a donation site across town. He never came back. Selah got the call that afternoon. Noah Reed had been arrested. The charge, trespassing. On a restricted city maintenance yard. It made no sense. He had picked up donations there a dozen times, but now it was labeled unauthorized access. They called it a misunderstanding, but they kept him overnight. Selah went to the station. The room smelled like bleach and bureaucracy. Noah sat across from her, his hands calm, his eyes unreadable. They said little. Words felt fragile in that room. Finally, he broke the silence. Make it worth it. That was all. She walked out with her throat tight and her mind louder than ever. Preston wanted fear. He wanted silence. He would get neither. Selah returned to the studio and gathered the crew. Jalen, Micah, the volunteers, the neighbors. She looked at each one. We have 3 days left, she said. Let's use them. They announced one final hope and hammer day. No corporate sponsors, no permits, just a date, a time, and a promise. Fix what you can, bring what you have. Leave nothing undone. By 9 a.m., the street was packed. Old women brought folding chairs and stories. Kids brought paint and ideas. Fathers and sons installed a handrail. 2 DJs set up speakers. Someone grilled hot dogs. Another passed out lemonade. Local. News showed up, trying to catch chaos. What they captured was unity. A woman in her 60s tuned a violin. A teenager painted her father's name into the corner of a wall. Testimonies rose, not from courtrooms, but from music, movement, and memory. Micah stayed overnight, painting in silence, layer by layer, stroke by stroke. She reimagined the mural. No, Longer just hands and symbols. Now, faces. Dozens of them. Selah, Noah, Jalen, her own, volunteers, elders, children. Every person who had touched the workshop left behind in painted permanence. By morning, the mural breathed again, not restored, reborn. Then came the eviction notice, a thick white envelope pinned to the studio door. 30 days had passed, no extensions granted, no appeal honored, final warning. But the city underestimated what Selah had built. It was not just a space, it was a story. And stories defend themselves. Word spread within hours. The next morning, a human chain formed around the building. Elders in lawn chairs, teenagers holding hands, teachers, carpenters, mechanics, musicians. Micah stood at the mural with her arms crossed. Jalen passed out bottled water. Selah stood in the center, still as iron. They did not chant. They did not shout. They simply stood. A drone flew overhead. News vans rolled up again. City officials paced nearby with clipboards and unsure steps. But no one moved. Because how do you evict something that has already been etched into people's lives? How do you bulldoze memory? Inside the studio, Selah walked through the workshop one more time. The lights flickered faintly. The wood creaked beneath her steps. She touched the table where Noah had once hammered loose nails back into place. She stood under the mural, eyes lifting to the new faces. She inhaled the air, paint, sweat, something sacred, and waited. The dust settles, but the fight does not. Selah stood in court alone. No legal team. No glossy binder. No press agent smoothing her blouse. Only conviction in her breath and the quiet buzz of a city watching. The hearing had been made public, not by request, but by pressure. The courtroom was full before the gavel even dropped. Mothers with strollers, teachers in work boots, artists with paint still on their hands. They did not hold protest signs. They held memories. The judge, a middle-aged man with tired eyes, called the first name on the list. It was not a lawyer. It was Jalen. He spoke clearly, a little nervous but unwavering. This place gave me a reason to get up again. I did not come here to be saved. I came here to learn how to build. Micah followed. She held a single photograph, the vandalized mural, and the new one beside it. She pointed to each face. This is the only place that ever told me my art had value before I was gone. One by one they spoke. A former addict who rebuilt his kitchen sink during Hope and Hammer days. A retired electrician who taught 6 teenagers how to wire safely. A mother who brought her autistic son every Sunday, just to be around kindness. Noah's name was never mentioned, but he was in every story. Selah did not speak until the end. She said only this: "You asked for evidence. You just heard it." Then she stepped back. The judge nodded once. No ruling. Not yet. The hearing was adjourned for further review. The system was not ready to decide. Selah stepped into the hallway, exhaling for the first time all morning. Her back was straight. Her eyes worn, but not empty. She had expected to feel closure. Instead, she felt movement. Across the street, a black SUV sat idle, windows tinted, engine humming, a figure in the front seat, watching. She did not stop walking. That night, the studio was quiet. The lights off. The mural glowing faintly in moonlight. Selah sat at the front table, sipping stale coffee, her mind restless. Then, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost ignored it. But something in her gut pulled her thumb forward. A woman's. Voice, low, calm, slightly encrypted. "Room 3, the voice said. "He is waiting." No location, no explanation, only that. Selah grabbed her coat. The drive took over an hour. Industrial corridors, unmarked checkpoints, a gate that opened without being asked. She showed no ID. No one stopped her. She was expected. Inside, The building felt colder than it should have. Sterile white floors. Dim overhead lights. Everything designed to make people feel small. But Selah walked like someone who had stood against worse. The hallway stretched longer than necessary. Halfway down, a door appeared. No brass plate. Just a plastic label. Room 3. Her hand paused on the doorknob. Not from fear, from understanding. That whatever lay behind this door would decide what came next. Not for her, for all of them. She opened it. Inside, under flickering lights, Noah sat at a table. No jumpsuit. No bruises, just a simple gray shirt and handcuffs around both wrists. He did not speak. He just looked up and smiled. Selah's lips parted, but no sound came out. The moment did not need words. The camera lingered, on the mural in her memory, on the steel in her spine, on the quiet strength in his eyes.